that I just love. Well, yes, we did. And would you like a bond issue for that? Yeah, we need other people's money to do this. Well, okay. Put it on the ballot and let the other people decide if they want to fund it. You know, yeah.
Okay. Have you ever attended any of the 3 pension board meetings?
I have not.
Okay. Do you support Paul Cargiulo's efforts to reevaluate the noise ordinance?
Well, they can reevaluate it if they like, but I can't imagine any other determination that's saying, well, you know, you're going to have to cut it back at 10 o'clock.
So you're saying you support the current noise ordinance?
Well, it's 65 decibels, and if they hold it at 65 decibels outside, do what they want inside as long as it doesn't get to 65 decibel or over 65 decibel. I've offered it, some of these discussions, I've offered what I thought was a compromise. I said, well, one of the things I said was, well, if people just can't hear it for some reason, I've been listening to 130 decibels for 20 years, they probably can't hear anything. Oh, well, okay, like the Van Wezel with the Sennheiser system. Let them have an individual earphones. They can put it at 130 decibels if that pleases them, as long as it doesn't spill out to the other people. And you should see the outcry. You can't do that. I mean, it's like.
So you support the current noise ordinance?
I do.
Okay.
Yes.
Would you expand the domestic partnership registry?
Well, it's expanding itself.
Well, then more and more people are going to.
Yes.
But would you be willing to lobby the county to open such a program, or perhaps talk to other cities, the Florida League of Cities, and explain that Sarasota has this and urge them to accept it as well?
No, I think it's a sideshow. I mean, the people who want to take advantage of it can always move to Sarasota, and we get some new population, and they could register here. You know, I mean, was it $45? I think it is. Yeah, well, I mean, it's like half the price of a marriage license, and a number of couples, both alternative lifestyle couples and ordinary lifestyle couples, have taken advantage of it. So as long as we've got it, I don't think I would, go meddle in the affairs of other governments.
Would you, under any circumstances, vote to repeal it?
No, I don't think it's causing any problem. Matter of fact, I think the people who are using it are just tickled with it.
Do you have an opinion on something called Agenda 21?
I do.
And do you think it impacts Sarasota?
They keep using the language of it. They talk smart growth. And what smart growth is, it's ordinary growth dressed up with a new adjective, and so, well, you're supposed to approve this and let us have more density. And no, I don't. Yeah, it's Agenda 21 is kind of putting the growth all in one spot, and they want to practically eliminate human use of many properties outside the city. As a matter of fact, there was a map going around. I looked at it, and it's like there was an awful lot of no-go zones, where you couldn't even go there, according to. In general, I'm not a fan of the United Nations, by the way. They kind of want to dictate our laws, and I think that's a sovereignty issue. Yeah.
Parts of Sarasota, including St. Armand's Circle and Ken Thompson Park, are prone to flood when there are high tides or storms that push a rise in sea level. Should the city continue to encourage development of its barrier island?
No.
Okay.
Now, if somebody wants to develop there, they need to understand that their first floor is going to get washed out every few years. Well, maybe every 100. I mean, it hasn't happened in a while, but it's prone to it, like you say. And I also think that the insurance companies need to put their surcharges right there where the problem is, rather than spreading them out over the whole community, which is what they do.
Or in fact, the whole United States.
Yeah, yeah, you know.
Because the flood insurance program is national.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, well, it's the same as some of these low-lying areas in mountainous areas. You know, somebody says, boy, that land in the valley is good. And it is good. So farm the land and build your house up higher. You know, don't, you know.
Should the city continue to renourish its beaches?
Shouldn't be taxing the local people for that to begin with. They mostly are getting the money from various grants for that purpose, but some of it comes from local, and they're sitting there trying to say, well, you know, you really profit from this. You do. You know, there was one year, renourished the beach, storm came through and took it all out right then. It was a few years ago, you may remember it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would think, depends on who's paying. It depends on where they're getting their money. You know, if they're winding up through a circuitous path, getting the money from the ordinary Joe and Jane anyway, who, you know, are working as bartenders or waitresses, and they're working from paycheck to paycheck, and then pack this onto their, you know, it's an iffy situation. I wouldn't push it. You know, I mean, I know it's going on. I don't think it generally comes up to a city commission vote. I would probably, depending on the funding source, I'd probably vote no on it.
Okay. The following are some questions on planning and land use. And the first one is sort of a philosophical, historical question. In 1910, the cities of Fort Lauderdale and Sarasota looked a lot alike. Low-rise, almost Wild West kind of architecture, wooden sidewalks, hitching posts.
Wooden sidewalks.
Hitching posts.
And we need to go back to that.
But Fort Lauderdale doesn't look like anything like Sarasota now.
No, it does.
The front, the bayfront, or the waterfront is all high-rises, period, all high-rises. Okay? And there are deep canals throughout the entire city. My question is, given that sort of as a historical starting point compared to where they ended up and we ended up, why doesn't Sarasota have a skyline like Fort Lauderdale?
Well, probably people don't want a skyline exactly like that. I think the county commissioners do want it. They completely eliminated height limits. So in the county, theoretically, you can build the tallest building in the world if the ground would support it, or if they have the engineering skill to get down to the bedrock. I don't think they're going to do that either. But they did repeal that, and I don't think it applies within the city. I think the city is still going on the philosophy of what they said called human scale.
18 stories.
18 stories.
Is the maximum.
Do we have an 18-story?
Oh, we have several 18 stories.
Do we?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, there's supposed to be 12 more approved.
I think there's only, the way the plan reads now, there's only 4 more sort of slots available for 18-story buildings.
Oh, okay. The others are only 10-story.
I don't know exactly.
I don't know either. Well, Commissioner Turner, he told me that. But he didn't elaborate, and I thought, well, 12 is enough. I mean, you know, we don't need 13. I can't think where they would put 12 high-rise buildings. I can see a few of them over in that big empty area behind Rosemary Court. You know, there's several blocks that are open. They could put a housing project in there. I used to work in a housing project.
Mm-hmm.
So they could put, and those were 14-story buildings that I was in charge of. But, well, up till now, the people haven't wanted it, or they've elected people who voted against it. Now that they've got this limit opened up, and now that, just the other day, they talked about 200 units per acre. Remember that? Just a couple days. So I think the county might be easing up on it, but they still have a problem. How are you going to handle the traffic? And it turns out we've got problems with sewers too. You know, these sewer failures we've been having, and you ask about it, they're talking about, well, some of the water pipes are made out of wood. You say, how long do they last? They're about at the end of their life. So we've got a number of infrastructure problems that we're really going to have to grapple with the next time something comes before the board to be considered. Now, with 800 projects already approved, including 12 large buildings, and your insight is that that 4 of them are 18 stories, well, that's a lot of building there to be done. And I talked to Jesse Biter yesterday. He says, well, yeah, and Joe Embry the day before, he said, well, yeah, but the density within those buildings, it doesn't make the economics work. And
the approved buildings?
The approved buildings, that's why they're not being built, because, and one of them said, well, although this was before the one guy I talked to before the 200 units. The other guy I talked to after, and somewhere in the conversation they wanted 400 units per acre. That is going to guarantee that we need more traffic handling. You know, we sort of need more now. You know, as a matter of fact, I keep using your quote that people come there in cars and they leave there in cars, and that's well put. And it's not going to change anytime soon. I called up SCAT and I asked about it. They said they have a 10-year plan to improve SCAT, $700 million, and asking about the details of it, it was sort of like, if they do that, they will fall further behind in 10 years. Like they will make some improvements, but they won't be able to keep up what the developers want to do, and even what's already approved. So we really have to do something really, really different, particularly for transportation, but also for sewers and other infrastructure, if we go with a Fort Lauderdale skyline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Would you favor expanding administrative site plan approval
No.
to the North Trail?
No, people can have meetings. I mean, it's sort of with the sunshine idea, you know, backroom deal. No.
Okay. Would you consider high-rise development north of 10th Street, either on the bayfront or along the trail?
We have some already.
There's one retirement center.
No.
Renaissance, I think it's called.
Yeah, I was looking at it. It looks nice from the road. Again, you have to have the traffic capacity to service it. They're trying to reduce traffic on 41. They're trying to reduce the speed. They're talking about they certainly aren't going to add lanes. I mean,
right.
if they're trying to reduce the speed and put these handy dandy roundabouts, you really need to reduce the speed on them, because you know that one out in Venice?
Oh, the roundabout?
Yeah, big roundabout there.
It's a multi-lane roundabout, yeah.
Yeah. And then people going into there at 45 miles an hour and expecting to keep 45 all the way through. And every now and then you see a lot of near misses. Now, it's true that the accidents are fender benders, but fender benders can still hurt you and they can cost you.
Yeah, but it's better than a T-bone.
It's better than a T-bone, but they need to enforce the speed on it. It's supposed to be 15 miles an hour, 45. Doesn't work for every driver. And the driver that's, you know, going with the spirit of the thing, he's the one who's going to get creamed. You know, so yeah. And they're not enforcing the speed. It's just.
Okay. Traffic is an issue for this development. Okay. In Newtown, virtually all of the streets have sidewalks. Most of them on both sides of the street. And the streets have curbs and they have gutters. A majority of the streets elsewhere in the city have neither sidewalks,
It's a scandal,
curbs,
isn't it?
or gutters. Is it time for the city to pay attention, or the same attention, to other neighborhoods?
It's past time, but they don't have the money.
Does everybody deserve a sidewalk?
Well, if they deserve it or not, the money isn't there. Now, it's one of the beauties of Newtown, really. You know, it is. You know, you can go down the street, you can walk wherever you want to go. I think it would help the walking, particularly with people of my age or older. Yes, the people deserve it, but they'd have to come up with the money to pay for it, and it isn't there.
I'm going to run through some terms, and I'd like you to rate them on a 1 to 10 scale, as far as 1 being you're really, really in favor of it, it's number 1, or number 10, over my dead body.
Okay.
1 to 10. The first one is concurrency.
That's a high priority.
Number?
I'd say 1.
Okay. Impact fees.
2.
Now, this is not, you can have more than one number 1.
I will select more than one number 1.
Okay, but impact fees 2.
Yeah.
Okay. Growth management?
1.
Okay. And my final question is sort of 2 parts here. Should you succeed and win a seat on the Sarasota City Commission,
Yes.
is there something tangible that you want to achieve? Not a policy change, but something tangible.
I started with an intangible, the spitting decision. I had not given much thought to running for office until they did that. I mean, anybody can spit. It's colorblind. Someone said the spitting ordinance is racist, and they stampeded to repeal it. It's things like that. Things that are just, you look and say, what? I mean, and that's kind of intangible.
Right, that's intangible.
That's intangible. It's like,
We'll get to the intangible part.
Well,
the question is tangible. Is there something, should you sit on the commission, is there something tangible that you would like to achieve?
I suppose I don't have a tangible. I don't have a cause célèbre.
Okay. And is there a policy goal then that you want to achieve if you serve on the commission?
Yes, it'd be concurrency.
And concurrency,
Yes.
okay. Okay, that's all the questions I have, Pete.
Really?
Do you have any questions for me?
Oh, you gonna run?
No.
Well, I thought you did well.
Been there, did that.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, did I give you? I did.
You did.
Yeah. Okay.
And I can turn this off. Well, I'll leave this on as long as your machine is.
Oh, okay. You know what? Yeah. I received a call from the Sarasota patch guy the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted me to take out a paid ad in Sarasota Patch. And I said, you know, since Stan Zimmerman's off your board, I don't read Sarasota Patch anymore. I don't know if anybody else does. He didn't have much to say about it.
Thank you, Pete.
So I think you better hang around. If you don't, otherwise you're going to be missed. I think, you're not allowed to retire. I mean, it's like, even if you were to someday get old, you can still.
It doesn't take a lot of energy to do.
Yeah.
And by that time, they'll have voice dictation and stuff. I can just tell a story.
What? We,
I mean, it's there already, but it's not quite to my speed.
I belong to a Linux club.